Welcome to Next on the Tee with Chris Mascaro, where PGA and LPGA players, legends, and the top instructors in the game share their insights and playing lessons. Join Chris every Tuesday night as he talks with the greats of the game. Tonight's show is sponsored by the French Lick Resort, the PGA Tour Superstore, the Bobby Jones Apparel Company, Ben Hogan Golf, 2 Under, TaylorMade Golf, and Golf Pride. Now, here's your host, Chris Mascaro.
Hey, good evening, folks, and thank you for joining me tonight here on Next on the Tee. I'm your host, Chris Mascaro, and I really hope your week is off to a great start. I'm honored to be with you tonight as we put a bow on another season of Next on the Tee. Last week, I mentioned that, I was a little sad, having a bit of a Masters hangover with the tournament being over and all. And likewise, this week, I'm a little sad as well with it being the last episode of the season. I'm going to be transitioning over to our football show, Thursday Night Tailgate. Now, if you're not familiar with that show, we talk with NFL legends every week about their playing days, plus get their insights into what's going on around the league now. So please join my co-host Bob Lazzari and I over there. You'll be able to stay up to date with that show by going to ThursdayNightTailgate.com. But like I say, it's a little sad that this season is coming to an end here on Next on the Tee. I'll post an occasional interview, maybe some updates from our guests and our friends over the winter. But we'll be back in full force sometime after the Super Bowl. But tonight, we're going to go out with a bang with some really great guests. And before we get started, I want to remind you about one of our sponsors, the Macklemore, which is a beautiful resort, community, and golf course. It's located just 35 minutes outside of Chattanooga, Tennessee, up on Lookout Mountain. They've opened their new clubhouse now, so go check out that and the course at themacklemore.com. The course is co-designed by our good friends Bill Bergen and Reese Jones, and our friend and PGA Tour Caddie Kip Henley has said outside of Pebble Beach, it's the most beautiful 18th hole he's ever seen. See why he says that by checking out the resort and the course online at themacklemore.com. All right, tonight we're going to go out starting off with our resident director of instruction, Tom Patri. TP and I are going to look back on the Masters. I'll get his thoughts on what he saw from DJ, what he didn't see, and what none of us saw from Bryson DeChambeau. And the play of some of the great former champions there, Larry Mize, Mike Weir, Bernhard Langer. Those guys were fantastic. We'll also talk about some drills that you can do indoors over the winter to keep your game sharp. So looking forward to having TP back with me. He'll join me here in just a few minutes. Following him, I'm going to get a return visit from PGA Tour Pro Nick O'Hearn and one of his business partners, Tom Naramore. I'm going to get Nick's thoughts and his memories from playing in the Masters. Tom is the co-founder of D3 Golf and the D3 Golf app that allows you to challenge a bet with your friends, even if they may live somewhere else. So looking forward to having both of those guys as part of the show. They'll join me about 25 minutes from now. Then we'll round out tonight's show with a return visit from former NHL star and Celebrity Tour champion Dan Quinn. Dan played in the NHL from 1984 to 1997. He won the American Century Championship 5 times. He also was a caddy on the PGA Tour, looping for guys like Ernie Els and Youst Luton and John Daly. He caddied for Ernie at the 2010 Masters, so we'll go back and hear some of Dan's memories from being a part of that event. Plus, why after winning the American Century Championship, again, 5 times, they suddenly stopped inviting him back to the tournament. We'll look forward to those stories and a whole lot more from Dan when he joins me about 45 minutes from now. So there you have it, folks. More great stories, tips, and information are coming your way tonight on this edition of Next on the Tee. And as always, thank you so much for tuning in and taking the journey with me tonight. You guys know I always like to start off the show by saying hello to my friends Mitch and Matthew Lawrence. I want to remind you about their great golf shows. Mitch's podcast is called Talking Golf Getaways. You can find it online at golftripx.com or over on Audioboom, Stitcher, or Player.fm. He and his co-host Darren Bunch are going to take you around great places around the U.S. and Canada, plus some of the hidden gem courses that you might not be aware of. Folks, I'm telling you, if you love golf and you love travel, their show marries those two things better than any shows out there. They're fantastic hosts, and those guys are even better people. Matthew's show is called Backspin Golf, and it's on hiatus now, but if you missed any of the episodes that Matthew had this season, you can stream them as a podcast by going online to WLXG.com. Matthew is such a fantastic host, and he had great guests week in and week out this past season. Again, stream it online by going to WLXG.com. And folks, this segment of Next on the Tee is brought to you by our friends over at TaylorMade and their TP5 and TP5X golf balls, played by Masters champion Dustin Johnson, plus John Rahm, Rory McIlroy, Ricky Fowler, and Jason Day. It is certainly the hottest tour ball in golf. Now, I know you know those names, but thousands of other golfers have already made the switch to TaylorMade TP5 and TP5X. It's available in high visibility yellow. Are you next to make the switch? Check it out online at TaylorMadeGolf.com for more information. All right, now here with me to kick off tonight's show is our resident director of instruction, Tom Patri. You can visit Tom this winter at his home at Crown Colony Golf and Country Club in Fort Myers. He's also built a great indoor facility at his home in Naples with all the latest technology and gadgets. If you're not going to be anywhere near the west coast of Florida, but you still want to get a lesson from TP, download the V1 video app and send Tom videos of your golf swing, and he's going to help you improve that swing through the app. You can also send him a question through his website, tompatri.com. Be sure to subscribe to his newsletter when you're on that site. Tom is also a member of the Titleist Leadership Advisory Board, has his own show on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Time over on Instagram Live with a tremendous guest list, including Cooper Manning coming up in a couple of weeks. And it's always fun having TP here with me on Next on the Tee. What's up, my friend? How are you tonight?
Christy boy!
I'm going to miss that. I'm going to miss that for a couple of months, TP. Every Tuesday gets me going. How are you, my friend?
You can call me on Tuesday nights, and I'll do that for you. No problem.
How do I make that into a ringtone? Every time you call me, that should be what I hear.
Exactly.
TP, update us. I know you're taking a little break for Turkey Day and all, but update us on how things are going at Crown Colony and what's up with you there.
Chris, I'm calling you from beautiful downtown Key West, Florida, down here with Mrs. And we're on a little hiatus for about 4 days, but Crown Colony's been fantastic. It's I've never been happier. I've never been happier in my life. Felt more welcome. It's been just a great start. Great start.
Tom, I know Crown Colony is a private course, but for all those folks that are up north that may be just coming back down to Fort Myers or the Naples area and they're interested in joining a course, talk about what the facility is like there at Crown Colony. And for those folks that are living in the area and may not be aware of what a beautiful facility they've got there, tell everybody about it.
Yeah, because it's a really very natural layout. A lot of estuary, a lot of wildlife on the property. It backs up to the Hendry River, not far from the Gulf of Mexico. I honestly didn't know much about the place before I started negotiating the job. I've been really pleasantly surprised at the condition of the place. It's fantastic. It's not an easy golf course. You got to drive the golf ball really, really well, and it's challenging. It's not an easy track, but really fun. Past town greens. The day I left, actually, before I came down to Key West this week, they're rolling at 13.5. Paul Bacon, superintendent, does an incredible job. Nice practice facility. Really, really nice clubhouse. Nice membership. Nice group of people. Tim Knowles, the head professional, David Kent, the GM, are class acts. I'm telling you, it's a really kind of a hidden jewel. I had no clue. I really didn't. I'm really, 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 very, very over the moon happy about the facility.
And Tom, for folks that are jonesing for some Tom Patri and get lessons from the master, talk about the indoor facility that you built out over the summer and what they can come see when they come visit you at that new place.
Well, two things, Chris. Even though Crown Colony is a private facility, I can teach non-members based on availability. They can get in touch with me directly to schedule. And then my home facility, I built out last year during COVID, obviously, and the craziness that was going on and continues to go on. I built out the really nice studio in my home. I kind of gutted the 3-car garage and turned it into a indoor studio, including body track, TrackMan, V1 video, flat screen TV, all the toys, all the bells and whistles. It really turned out much better than I thought it would. And I've had people over on a pretty regular basis in the evenings, actually, after I get done teaching Crown Colony, for some evening work, as well as on Mondays on my day off. So I do some private instruction there as well for people who don't want to drive to Fort Myers or want a more private setting and want all the bells and whistles.
Tom, let's switch gears a little bit. And the last time you joined me on the show, we were looking ahead to the Masters, and the idea that Bryson DeChambeau was going to destroy the course record because, as he said, Augusta National was a par 67 for him. So if you look at how he performed, he was about 18 over par based on his standards, and then had some excuses for why he wasn't feeling right and all this and that. So things didn't exactly go as he had planned. Give me your thoughts. Talk about Bryson and tugging on Superman's cape that is Augusta National.
Well, as you know, based on our last discussion, Chris, I'm kind of over Bryson DeChambeau. I mean, I'm not a fan. I'm just not a fan. I think that you keep your mouth shut and you play golf, and you let your scorecard take care of the talking. I think he got a little bit ahead of himself there, obviously, didn't he? And Augusta obviously wasn't a par 67 for him, and there's more to the game than driving at 400 yards on occasion to play championship golf. Listen, you can't take anything away from the way he played at Wingfoot. He was on that week. It was his deal. But nobody's on every week. And you're right. Nobody should pull on Superman's cape, and Augusta kind of bit him, as it should have. And maybe he'll keep his mouth shut a little bit and just play golf and let the chips fall where they may.
And TP, let's talk about the opposite side of that coin and what we saw from DJ and what he did, and as the opposite of what Bryson didn't do. We saw DJ be the first guy to reach 20 under par there. Thoughts on what you saw from DJ over those 4 days?
Well, there's a perfect comparison, Chris, because DJ doesn't really say very much, doesn't beat his chest a lot, just kind of shows up and does his thing, drives the ball a long ways, drives it in play, but also has a much greater command of his short irons. His distance control was exquisite. He putted the ball beautifully and managed the golf course. Backed off when he had to, stepped on the gas when he had to. Really did a great job, I think, from a course management standpoint and an emotional standpoint. I think he put an absolute clinic on for 4 days, and rightfully so, won the golf tournament.
And Tom, a lot was made prior to the final round about DJ's challenges with losing some leads in final rounds. Were you worried at all when he went out and he didn't birdie 2, he bogeyed 4 and 5, put it in the bunker on 7. Lead went from 4 down to 2. It started to feel a little bit shaky for me. I started to like, we could be in trouble here. But then obviously righted the ship and went on. But were you concerned at all about what you saw from him at the start of the final round?
I don't think people realize, Chris, I think the 2 hardest things to do sometimes are to play with a big lead or to play in front of your home crowd fans, if you're in your hometown playing in an event. Playing with a big lead sometimes is harder than playing with a one-shot lead, in that, you're almost overcautious, don't want to make a mistake, and all of a sudden somebody goes on a birdie run and closes the gap from 5 to 2, and you kind of feel it, But I think he did a nice job riding the ship. I think the birdie he made at 6 into that back right pin was fantastic. I think he never really looked like he lost his cool. He kind of stayed to his game plan. I think Austin, his brother, did a nice job helping calm him down a little bit. I think he's got an awful lot of firepower, realizing he's got 13 and 15 on the back 9. You always got to worry when the lead slips down and starts inching in on you in a major championship when you have some history. But I think that was a defining moment for him, Chris. I think he really kind of got over a big hump there. That one major championship at Oakmont was almost like a little bit of a curse versus a plus. He needed that second major. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets on a little bit of a roll now and he doesn't win, somewhere between 6 and 10 in his career, even though he's 36 years old. He's fit, he's long, he's got great distance control, and he putts the ball. His wedge game has really come a long ways, putts the ball beautifully. I think it might have been a big turning point in the guy's career.
Yeah, I wanted to get your thoughts on that, Tom. Now that he has sort of put that second major, right? Now he's sort of on, he backed it up, right? When you get one, you wonder, is this something that he's going to be able to get 2, 3, 4, 5? But now that he's got 2, is your expectation that he gets, 6, 7, 8, 10, like you mentioned a moment ago? Now he really gets on a roll?
Chris, it wouldn't surprise me at all. I mean, he comes out in November, shooting 20 under there, and there's one right around the corner back there at Augusta in April. Listen, I don't see a lot of weakness in his game. Since he started hitting the ball left to right off the tee, he's done a tremendous amount of wedge work in terms of his distance control. I think Austin's done a great job with the green reading as far as that team is concerned. I don't see a lot of weakness in his game. He's powerful. He's very, very calm. He drives the ball beautifully now in a long ways. It wouldn't shock me at all if he got on a little bit of run, Brooks Koepka, that kind of little 3 to 5 year period where he goes on a little bit of a run. That wouldn't shock me one bit.
TP, we talked about Rory's chase to complete the career Grand Slam there at Augusta National. Ended up finishing tied for 5th. He finished inside the top 10 now every year from 2014 to 2020, with the exception of last year in 19, where he finished tied for 21st. But do you think he's eventually going to get that win at Augusta National and complete the career Grand Slam, or is the course a little bit in his head now?
It almost reminds me a little bit of Sam Snead, Chris, where he had all those near misses at the U.S. Open and never finished the career Grand Slam himself. He's certainly got plenty of talent. He's certainly got plenty of length. He's got all the shots. He seems to be very inconsistent on the greens. He's had a couple of lapses there that are really, really painful at Augusta, as Sam had in the Open. I wouldn't bet the house on him winning at Augusta. I wouldn't. I don't think I'm not saying he can't win at Augusta. I'm not saying he won't win at Augusta, but I wouldn't be putting a big part of my check on it. My salary on it. At any time in the near future. I'm skeptical.
Tom, what about what we saw from some of the past champions, guys like Larry Mize, Mike Weir, Bernard Longer, and Mize are obviously in their 60s. Those guys both played really well. Longer finished tied for 29th, which, oh, by the way, was better than where Bryson and Tiger finished. Talk about the performances we saw from them.
It's funny you bring that up, Chris, because I played golf with Larry Mize in college, and he's a wonderful guy, and he did it for one round, certainly, but Langer did it for 4 rounds, at 63 years old. I've walked on Augusta since the changes have made. I know you go every year. That golf course is close to 7,400 yards long from the back, and Langer hits it about the same exact distance that I hit it right now. And I've stood on the back of some of those tee boxes and thought to myself, how would I even make a par, let alone make any birdies out here? And to go 4 rounds out there, and listen, he's hitting lumber into some of those par 4s. If not lumber, he's hitting hybrids. And to go 4 rounds out there and do what he did. And then on Sunday, teed up with DeChambeau face-to-face, head-to-head, and not only beat him for the tournament, beat him face-to-face, head-to-head in the last round, being outdriven by somewhere between 70 and 100 yards on every tee box. The guy is an absolute freak show. He's a phenomenon. He's, how can you not admire Bernard Langer and what he's able to do with his career, especially as a senior golfer and at Augusta National? Just an incredible performance. I don't think it's being talked about enough. And just to switch gears a little bit on you, Chris, the most incredibly mentally strong performance I've ever seen is a player making a 10 on the 12th hole of Augusta and then birding 5 out of the last 6 holes. I don't think anybody in the world has talked about what Tiger did after making 10 on number 12 and then going on that birdie trot coming into the house. Unbelievable to be that mentally strong to turn that around and walk to the next tee and get on that roll.
Yeah, and so let's take that a step further. What does that teach all of us, junior golfers and the rest of us, about not just kind of throwing it away? Because I think a lot of us, and I'll raise my hand on this, if I had just made a 10 on a hole with 6 holes left to play, I'm probably going straight in the tank. Like, get me out of here. right? I'm starting to think about where's the beer girl, right? Give me a beer. Let me just, kind of finish this thing out and go home. Tiger doesn't do that. He goes, and to your point, birdie's 5 out of the last 6. We talked a bit about this on the show last week, but I think the lesson in that is tremendous for what he taught us after making a 10.
I always tell people, Chris, I look at golf as 18 games. People, how many people, and you included, me included, we shoot 36 on the front and 41 on the back, or 42 on the front and 36 on the back, and we can't put 2 nines together. Well, I always teach people that, that want to compete, my college players, my junior players, my professionals that I coach. Golf is 18 games. You play game number 1, it's over. You play game number 2, it's over. You play game number 3. You try to do the best in each game. And you have to compartmentalize that. That is an absolute incredible performance by Tiger Woods to make a 10 in front of the world. Let's keep this in perspective. He did that in front of the world watching. Walks from 12 green to 13 tee, rips it down the middle, makes birdie, and then doesn't birdie 14 and should have, by the way, and then birdies, 15, 16, 17, and 18. I mean, come on. It's incredible. It's absolutely mental fortitude. The guy is an absolute amazing specimen of a competitor, and my hat's off to him.
Tom, I want to get your thoughts on another guy that we watched do some incredible things there at Augusta National, kid Cameron Smith. He becomes the first player in Masters history to shoot all 4 rounds in the 60s. In his last 3 events, the kid finished 11th at the CJ Cup, tied for 4th at the Zozo Championship, now tied for 2nd at the Masters. And if you go back to 2015, finished tied for 4th at the U.S. Open at Chambers Bay. But one of the things I was particularly struck by when I was watching him is he always had a smile on his face throughout all 4 rounds, at least for every highlight and every hole that I saw him play. Give us your thoughts on his performance.
Chris, I think that's a great point. I've watched Cameron Smith play once or twice in my career as an instructor and didn't know that much about him. But after he was in the hunt after 2 days, I kind of did a little Wikipedia on him and did some study on him. And he's very quietly had a very, very nice career. He's still got a lot of years ahead of him. Doesn't drive the ball particularly long. Isn't particularly high in any one stat category, except his short game numbers are really, really pretty pristine. And he did a wonderful job managing the golf course. He putted the ball beautifully. He kept himself very, very light out there. Has a very good attitude on the golf course. Very different approach from Tiger. Very, very different approach from Bryson. Very, very different approach from a lot of people. We see he's a much more happy-go-lucky. He seems like he really enjoys playing golf. He enjoys competing, enjoys being out there, and is very grateful for his chances. I think you'll see more great things from him. He's somebody you can really root for. He's easy to pull for, man. He's really, really fun to watch.
Tom, I want to switch gears and get some playing lessons from you for our folks now that are in the northern part of this country or anywhere around the world where it's starting to get cold and it's hard to play, and we're maybe started to get relegated to being indoors. So for all of us that aren't currently in Key West, Florida, but talk about some drills that we can do to kind of keep our golf swings in shape so we don't end up with a whole bunch of rust when it starts to get warmer out and we get towards the spring. What can we do over the winter?
Great question, Chris. I guess the number one thing you can do is during COVID, because I don't want you flying, is if you're in the Northeast, 95 south to Fort Myers. 95 south, Fort Myers, come see me. That's the number one tip to get better this winter. Second tip after that is I think you need things to do indoors. Putting mat is something I've put in my own office in my house. I come home from work every night, I flip on the TV, I do a little work in the office, and I always make sure before I go to bed, I spend about 25 or 30 minutes hitting some putts. I love the orange whip. I sing the orange whip usually every morning and every evening in the studio in my garage at the house. You've got to be doing things that keep you in motion and keep you attached to the motion. Not that you have to be super mechanically specific, but make swings every day, whether it's a weighted club or an orange whip. You've got to hit putts. You've got to create, some field drills you can do for short game. If you got someplace you can hit balls indoors or in a heated situation, you've got to have some live action on a semi-regular basis. You can't, the Orange Group is great indoors. Nothing replaces live action. So whether you have a dome nearby, if you're in a cold weather climate, whether you have a heated driving range nearby, whether you can put a net in your garage and a mat in your garage, you've got to have some live action too on a semi-regular basis, meaning let's call it once a week, once every 10 days, aside from doing any indoor drills. You've got to make motion. You can't put the clubs in the closet. You can't put them away for the wind. You cannot do that. People that do that, Chris, come back when the weather breaks, April, May, and it's July before they really get their golf game in shape again. Besides doing those kind of things, you got to be doing some stretching exercise. You got to keep your body limber, keep some pliability and flexibility. You cannot get stagnant.
So one other thing, Tom, as we swing the orange whip, that can certainly help us, keep the swing kind of going, kind of help us from a driver, long iron perspective. As your mantra and the thing that you have feed into my head over the years and to the head of your listeners over on Instagram Live on your show, short game, short game, short game. How do we keep that short game going over the winter as well?
See, that's because that's easily the hardest thing over the winter because you don't have a putting surface. That's why I go to Perfect Practice in terms of the putting mat. At least I'm putting the golf ball. But from a short game standpoint, that is the single hardest thing to do. If you can, and you can even have a piece of carpeting in your house, and you can put a beanbag chair or a pillow up against the wall, or some kind of quilt or thick covering, and you hit little chip shots up against something that will deflect the ball and let it fall onto the ground without damaging anything in the house, just to make a little chipping and pitching motion. The problem, and that's not bad, but the problem is you're still not referencing a specific distance control, which is what short game is all about, controlling distances. That's the hardest thing because I really don't have a great answer for that unless you're in a dome setting or a heated range setting, or some kind of indoor practice area you can have access to. That's the real catch-22. You can handle putting, you can handle full swing. The in-between stuff is really difficult.
Tom, before I let you go, you do an outstanding job on your show. Again, Thursday nights, Instagram Live, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Folks, be sure to tune in because Tom's a fantastic host and his guest list is also wonderful. I know you're off this week for Thanksgiving, but you've got a great lineup coming back after that. Remind our listeners about who you've got coming up on the show.
Yeah, my first person back after Thanksgiving week, I believe it's 12/3 because that's a Thursday. I think I got that date right. Is Cooper Manning, the third Manning brother, one you haven't heard much about, the brother of Eli and Peyton. Cooper is actually an oil trader in New Orleans, but had a severe medical issue on his way to playing wide receiver at Ole Miss. We're going to talk about what that issue was, and never really played it down in college. After setting with his brother Peyton, which still holds true today, the Louisiana State record for passes in total yards and touchdown catches in the state of Louisiana. A wonderful athlete in his own right. And his son, Arch, who is now a high school sophomore, has already thrown 65 TD passes and is being looked at by virtually everybody around the country. So we have a lot to talk about. He's a passionate golfer. He's an incredibly positive human being, considering what he's gone through in his life medically. A real inspiration and a funny guy. So I'm really looking forward to having him on the show right after Thanksgiving.
And Tom, remind our listeners how they can stay up to date with all the great things that you're doing, whether that's following you on Instagram and on social media, plus your website as well.
Well, Chris, the website is tompatri.com, and social media, 2 Facebook pages, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, all those social media platforms. And then, of course, my website, like I said, tompatri.com, where you can sign up there for my quarterly newsletter. And then bi-weekly. I'm on an incredible podcast called Next on the Tee with Chris Mascaro, which I'm privileged to be on, twice a month, with the greatest podcast host in the world, bar none.
TP, I appreciate you, my friend. Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for taking a little bit of time away from your night there down on Key West. You're the best, my friend. I'm already looking forward to our first show as we kick off 2021. This is our 44th show together, so we will kick off number 45 at the beginning of next season. But in between now and then, my friend, stay safe. Happy holidays to you and the missus. Look forward to catching up soon.
Chrissy, happy Thanksgiving to you and yours. I love you very much. I think the world of you and what you're doing, and I really mean it sincerely. You're the best in the whole world at what you do, and it's an honor and a privilege to be on with you as much as I am. I'm really grateful to be with you.
Well, I'm blessed to have you, and the love goes right back to you, my friend. Take care. Stay safe. We'll catch up soon.
Thanks, pal. Good night.
See you, TP. That's the great Tom Patri, folks. Tom Patri, Patri. TomPatri.com is the website, at Tom Patri Golf and at Tom Patri on Twitter. But, folks, I'm telling you, that Instagram live show, TP is one of the great hosts that you're going to see and hear anywhere. I can't encourage you enough to check out his show, and his guest list is absolutely top-notch as well. So a finer individual than Tom Patri you will not find. And I love that guy. He has been everything to me here on the show. What a wonderful instructional guest, right? Every other week, like Tom said. But on top of that, TP is 10 times a better person. So like I say, I can't encourage you enough to go check out his show. Go check out his website, and then sign up for lessons. Now, look, if you're not going to get down to the west coast of Florida, go on the V1 video, or the V1 video app, and select Tom as your instructor, and send him, videos of your golf swing. He's going to make a lot of improvements for you. Help my golf swing. Goodness knows. He's made a world of difference there. After just, a couple of, instructional opportunities, he came back and showed me what I was doing wrong. And it's made a world of difference in my swing. So it's going to do the same for you. Look forward to catching up with Tom again soon. And like I say, in between now and next season, folks, go over there and tune in. Instagram Live, 8 o'clock Eastern time. You're going to really love his show. All right, before I get to my next guest, Nick O'Hearn and Tom Naramore, I want to give a shout out to a couple of our sponsors, starting with our friends over at the Ben Hogan Golf Company. At Ben Hogan Golf, they manufacture some of the finest golf equipment in the world in their small factory in Fort Worth, Texas. That's because they build each club by hand using the same process Mr. Hogan created when he started his company 65 years ago. They call it micro-manufacturing. So no mass production, no shortcuts. Visit them online at benhogangolf.com to learn more about their tour quality products and factory direct prices. Also want to give a shout out to our friends over at Golf Pride. In golf, light grip pressure releases power. Golf Pride engineered a secret the pros know. A larger lower hand encourages lighter pressure. Plus 4 technology is designed with 4 additional layers, which reduces tension in the lower hand to generate more power. Play Plus 4 and release the secret the pros know. Now available on Tour Velvet, the winningest grip on tour. Grip confidence, grip Golf Pride. And folks, this segment of the show is sponsored by our friends at the PGA Tour Superstore.
This segment of the show is brought to you by the PGA Tour Superstore. See why golfers everywhere are proud to call PGA Tour Superstore their golf pro shop. Visit them online at PGATourSuperstore.com. Now back to Chris and more of the show.
All right, now joining me are PGA Tour pro Nick O'Hearn and Tom Naramore. Let me give you some background on both guys. Nick is from Perth, Western Australia. He grew up playing baseball, tennis, and golf, and he turned pro back in 1994. He qualified for the European Tour on his first attempt going through Q School in 1998. He played on the European Tour from 1999 to 2007, where he finished runner-up 7 times. In 2004, he earned his way into the top 50 in the world golf rankings. 2005, he was ranked number 24 in the world and was a member of the international team at the President's Cup. There, he teamed with countryman Peter Lonner to defeat Davis Love and Kenny Perry in the Friday matches And on Saturday, he paired with Tim Clark and defeated Fred Funk and David Toms. 2006, he reached number 21 in the world, and he won the Australian PGA Championship when he holed out from the greenside bunker to birdie the fourth playoff hole to defeat Peter Lonard. That season, he also had his best finish in a major, tying for sixth at the U.S. Open, and he won the Australia Asian Order of Merit. Nick is the only player to defeat Tiger Woods in the World Golf Match Play event, and he did it twice in 2005 and 2007. He's written a wonderful book titled Tour Mentality, Inside the Mind of a Tour Pro, which you guys can find out on Amazon.com. Now, tonight he is joined by Tom Naramore. Tom is the co-founder and CEO of $, Inc., and they're the creators of D3 Golf, the first peer-to-peer golf skills challenge app where you can wager with and challenge any player on the app, anyone around the world, including Nick O'Hearn, which I definitely do not recommend. But I'm thrilled to have both guys with me tonight here on Next on the Tee. Hey, Nick. Hey, Tom. Thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, Chris. Thanks for having me again.
Hey, Chris. Tom here. Just absolutely a joy for me to be on your show.
I appreciate you both. Nick, I want to start with you and just sort of catch up. Talk about what's been going on with you this year and the things down in Australia. You guys going through the same sort of COVID issues that we're experiencing over here?
It's been a very interesting time. We were locked down pretty hard. I'm living in Melbourne, which is a state where Royal Melbourne Golf Course is, of course, in the state of Victoria. And we were locked down for almost 6 months, and they were very, very strict. And now we've come out the other end. So looking on a global scale, everyone else seems to be still fighting the COVID and everything. But down here in Australia, things are progressing pretty well. So we're fairly lucky. They took a very strict stance early on, and I guess it's paying rewards.
And Nick, kudos to your father. I saw your tweet a few days ago about him shooting his age a few weeks ago and then going below his age a little over a week ago. I know that's something that my father has done as well over the last few months. Very proud watching him best his age. Talk about your father's game.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he was a huge influence on my golf early on. He taught me certainly the fundamentals when I got going. And I kind of followed whatever he did. He was a very good baseballer back in the day. And, if the option was ever to go to the major leagues, in the 60s here in Australia, he would have been over to America, no doubt. But, he's very handy with a golf club, has that sort of rounded baseball style of a swing. He's played off a single figure his whole life. And when he was 74, he shot his age. And 6 weeks ago, he shot 78, which is his age now. And I said, Dad, let me know when you break your age because I'm sick of you shooting it. And funnily enough, about a week later, he rang me up and he said, I three-putted the last, but I shot 77 and broke my age by a shot. So it's very, very impressive, and hopefully I get a chance to do that one day.
Nick, I want to switch gears a little bit. I want to get your thoughts on the Masters, starting with the fellow Australian Cameron Smith. He's a wonderful player, first player ever to shoot all 4 rounds in the 60s there at Augusta National. And one of the things I really enjoyed most about watching him this year is every time I saw him, he had a smile on his face. Talk about what you saw from him.
Yeah, I think it was one of the greatest scrambling displays as well that I've ever seen in a golf tournament, especially at Augusta where it's so tricky around those greens. I think every time he walked onto a green, it looked as though he was going to hole a putt. Whenever he had a wedge or a short club in his hand, it kind of looked a bit Seve-esque, so to speak. He's obviously not the longest player out there, and the golf course was definitely softer given at the time of the year. So it lent itself to being more aggressive. And as we saw with the scores all through the week, DJ shooting the record score and Cam shooting 4 rounds in the 60s. I mean, that's pretty unlucky to shoot 4 in the 60s and not win the golf tournament, let alone to be beaten by about 5 strokes, I think, in the end. So it was an amazing achievement by him. And he's just such a very, very nice young bloke and a hell of a player, as we saw. So he's got a great future in front of him.
Yeah. Do you consider him to be a guy who's got to be a favorite looking ahead to next April?
Well, it'll be interesting because, the way the golf course set up, I think, so I saw him hit that shot into 15 on Saturday. It might have been a 7-wood or something where he stuck it to a foot and the ball just didn't even move when it landed. I mean, in April, that's probably over the back of the green and close to the water down the back. So, it's going to be a different setup. So very much a different test and all credit to him for the way he played to give it a chance. And I mean, every time you visit Augusta, you're always looking to gain experience. even if you're not in contention, there's always things you can look out for the next time you're there. And the way he held himself, on that Sunday especially was just so impressive. So I think he'll be one of the contenders for sure, but it's very much a long hitter's course, obviously, and the shorter guys, they just have to be on all aspects of their game, and Cam showed that throughout the week with his putting and his short game.
So let's take that a half a step further, Nick, and talk about some of the things we saw from players out on the Champions Tour. I mean, Bernhard Langer, we were talking about it last week, and then the first segment tonight, Larry Mize, both those guys in their 60s, Langer, who actually, was right around the leaderboard all weekend long. And then what we saw from Mike Weir, I thought what we got from those three guys, considering how much shorter they drive the ball than everybody else, was particularly amazing.
It certainly was. I mean, Langer's effort, I think in the end he might have been a stroke in front or tied with Bryson. Now you've got two ends of the spectrum there for sure. I mean, the talk of the town going into the week was obviously Bryson and his length and how he could really take the course apart. I actually feel that come April, his length will be more of a factor because the greens are going to be so much firmer and the golf course will be playing that much different. Given the conditions, it did bring the shorter hitters in because they could then hold the greens with longer clubs. And I remember when I played my Masters back in the mid-2000s, I just, was hitting 4-irons and hybrids and fairway woods into a lot of the par 4s and just trying to hold the greens was almost impossible. So when the course sets up that little bit different as we all knew it would, and then the rain that came Thursday morning, it just changed the event completely. I mean, obviously the number one player in the world, the best players are all still going to be up there, and it sort of brought the field in a little closer, but you've still got to play some amazing golf around there. And that round Larry Mize shot on Thursday of 70, a couple under par is probably like DJ or Bryson shooting a 63. It was that good.
And Nick, talk about your experience playing there. When you went there to play for the first time, who were some of the guys that you played practice rounds with to try to figure out how exactly to play Augusta National?
Well, I more just picked other people's brains. One of the best things I did my first year there is I went to the caddy master and I said, who's one of your best caddies that I can take out with me? And I ended up hiring him for 18 holes. So, he wasn't going to caddy for me, but I wanted him to walk the golf course with myself and my caddy so that we could pick his brain about, okay, where does this putt go? What's the pin position going to be here? And I really absorbed a lot of his information. It was one of the best things I did. And practice rounds, I had one year in particular playing a practice round with Ben Crenshaw and then played with him in the tournament. And it was, one of the most amazing putting displays I've ever seen when I played with him. He just worked the golf course beautifully, on the greens. He just knew where to put the ball and how to roll it. And it's an ever-changing thing, Augusta National, I believe. I mean, every time you go there, you learn something new. And to be able to walk through those gates and play the tournament is something very special.
So, Tom, talk about your app, the D3 Golf app, and how you got Nick involved with what you're doing.
Well, first of all, I've always said that I love being luckier than good, right? So with a chuckle there, serendipitously, we had an idea with this crazy, silly idea that we could connect golfers who like to bet on the course and then different courses around the world, right? Sort of the poker stars of the poker world, if you will, that we could erase location and time and use technology to allow golfers that like to bet their buddies to do that anytime, anywhere, any location. So with that idea, one of the things that we wanted to build was a way for the players to put their money into the app and have the app move the money back and forth based on the winner, right? And so to do that, we needed some consultants. And through an initial consultant that we had back in 2018, he happened to be working with Nick on another project. And he said to me, hey, I know this professional golfer that might be interested in helping out. And so he introduced me to Nick. And listen, I've had the pleasure of working hip to hip with Nick now a couple of times a week for the last 2.5 years. So not only has my business gotten better, but my golf game too. When you can hang out with a tour pro, it is amazing what you learn just by watching an osmosis. So I feel very lucky.
So, Tom, talk about it. Like, particularly, this year with COVID and that sort of thing and travel being restricted. I know annually I go on a golf trip with my buddies. So, my buddy Ange, we didn't get the opportunity to go play. My other buddy Joe and Bob. So I got two guys down in Orlando, one guy over in Myrtle Beach, and they didn't get the opportunity to lose to me and have to buy me dinner. So talk about how we can all play at different courses at different times, but still end up betting and competing against one another.
Absolutely. So when you build a profile in the app, and anybody can download the app at our website, which is d3golf.com. Download the app. It's completely free. You can load your wallet and invite your friends. If they're already there, then you have the ability to go play golf. We have over 40,000 golf courses loaded in the world. However, we are on version 1 right now, so it's only available in the U.S. Come Q1 2021, we're going to launch Australia, Canada. We're looking at Europe. We're looking at the legality of that. We're going to do Australia, Canada, and another country that we're thinking about. So it's that simple. You load your friends, you go play golf, you start a challenge, you pick the wager amount and the game that you want to play. Right now, we've got Nassau and Skins. You can do carryovers. You don't have to do carryovers, but you can bet any amount you want. Because it is a skills challenge, meaning you're going to play a game of golf and your buddy's going to actually play a game of golf. And by the way, we validate that the game is actually played with location services. It's not considered gambling. This is actually a skills challenge and is completely legal. So we have all of our compliance, all the legality done, and the app takes everybody's handicap and the tee box they play. There's a slope rating on all tee boxes. We do the hard math on the back end. By the way, our math was validated by the USGA, and it takes care of all of the pops and who gets strokes on what hole. It takes the relationship to par since you're playing two different courses at the same time, and the scores. It determines the winner. It tells you who the winner is, and it moves the money back and forth from player to player.
And you mentioned being a skills challenge, but talk about how we can play skins against one another as well.
Yeah, so Skins is the latest game that we loaded, and so what happens is, just like a local match, right? When you set the game up, you determine when you set the game up how much a skin is worth. So in our version 1 right now, every hole is its own skin, and whoever gets the closest relationship or the lowest score, obviously, on that hole. If you're playing two different courses where I'm on a par 3 and you're on a par 5, then what the app does is it compares relation to par. So if I shoot a 4 on a par 3 and you shoot a 4 on a par 5, you actually birdied. Even though our scores were the same, you win that skin. So up front, we determine how much a skin is worth, and then you win that skin. We play all 18 holes, and if we've got carryovers, if we don't have carryovers, the app takes care of all the math, and it shows each player who won what, who won each hole, and how much was distributed from player to player.
So, Nick, tell me why I would want to go up against you. I mean, the thought of playing against you seems ridiculous, especially for someone of my skill level. But talk about how we can theoretically challenge you.
Yeah, well, that's going to be part of the app, which I'm really excited about, is some celebrity challenges. So we might get some other golf pros involved as well and other celebrities. And, growing up here in Australia, it was a no-brainer. Every time I played around a golf, I'd always, bet a few cents or a dollar here and there against my buddies. And then when I get introduced to this idea, I was just so fascinated because I'm thinking, well, surely this has been done before, but it hasn't. D3 Golf is the first app out there to do it, and I'm really excited about that in that sense. And there's two types of play: local, where we're all playing in the same group, and remote play where we're in different groups or at different locations, as Tom's saying about, different golf courses that might be across the other side of the country. But the beautiful part about golf and what I've always loved is the handicap system. I mean, I just had a round of golf this morning. I was playing against a buddy of mine who's off an 8 handicap, and I'm off a +4 handicap down here. And we play a Stableford format, and we both came in at 36 points. So, there's a 12-stroke difference in handicaps, but we competed right the way down to the wire. And I think that's the beauty of golf, is it's the only sport in the world where pros and amateurs can compete against each other on a level playing field. It just won't happen in any other sport. And, I've shot 5 and 6 under myself on a round of golf, and I still get beaten by 18 handicappers. It's just the way it goes, unfortunately. But I've had a blast doing it, and I'm really looking forward to launching it down here in Australia and, continue to challenge Tom and see if I can take a few dollars off him.
Guys, just a couple more before I let you go. And Nick, I know you just turned 49 back on October the 18th, and the Champions Tour looks like it's just there on the horizon for you. Are we going to get the opportunity a year from now to see you out there?
Oh, it's on the horizon, but it's not one of my main priorities at the moment. I'm still, I stopped playing full time about 5 years ago now, and we moved back to Australia a couple of years ago. So when I hit 50, I'll think about it and see where my game's at and give it a good shot. But again, a lot obviously will depend on travel restrictions and COVID and all that sort of thing. I'll have to go through the Q school over there because I never won in the US, unfortunately. I came close several times, but, beating Tiger Woods twice in match play, I think that should give me an automatic exemption under the Champions Tour, but apparently it doesn't.
Indeed.
So I'll have to wait a bit there. But, I'm really enjoying playing. I'm mentoring and coaching other players now and still playing a couple of local events. And I'm really excited about this golf app and just, getting people playing. And as I mentioned before, I grew up, whenever I played, there was always some action on the side, and that's where the competition comes in. And it's just a fantastic project to be involved with.
Nick, let our listeners know how they can stay up to date with all the great things you're doing and follow you on social media.
Yeah, sure. I'm on the Twitter, which is, I guess, at Nick O'Hearn, and same with Instagram. I have my own website, nickohearn.com. And I've actually just recreated another website called tourproexperience.com.au, which, another golf pro and myself, we take out clients for what we call the Tour Pro experience. It's something, if you went to a PGA Tour event, this is how it's going to be. We're going to give you the best gear, the best food and wine, and show you the golf courses and give you an amazing experience. So that's something I'm really looking forward to. But Instagram, Twitter is always the best way with me, and you'll see a lot more of me coming up when the app gets launched here for sure.
And Tom, let our listeners know about how they can stay up to date. Download the app, where they can find it, and then stay up to date with all the great things that you guys are going to be doing with version 1 and then future versions as well.
Absolutely. So you can find us on the web at golf.com. We both Android and iOS links are right there. So whatever platform you're on. And our Instagram is wannabetme, at wannabetme, WANABETME. That's Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter on that handle, at wannabetme. So you can find us there, follow us there. So yeah, we just started development on version 2. It'll be out mid to late first quarter of 2021. We're looking at a March launch. Many games, it's going to be a completely new experience. And like I said, we're going to launch some other countries, so you get some international play as well as play your uncle across the United States with your buddies. So looking forward to it and just excited about it. You bet.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Nick, Tom, I can't thank you enough for taking time, Nick, out of your day over there in Australia, Nick, out of your evening there out in California. But I can't thank you enough for being a part of the show. I hope you'll come back, both of you will come back and update us on how things are going with the app and let us know what's new and how version 2 is coming. It sounds fantastic. I can't wait to take some money off my buddies.
There you go. Look forward to it.
Thanks, Chris.
Take care, fellas.
Great chatting.
Happy
again.
holidays. Thanks, Nick. Take care. Happy holidays. Stay safe out there. We'll catch up soon. That is the great Nick O'Hearn and Tom Naramore. Again, The app is D3 Golf, and it's d3golf.com. So very excited about what those guys have to offer and what it's going to look like, what version 2 will be like, and let alone version 1. And certainly looking forward to downloading the app, getting my buddies to download the app, and then not only taking some money off of them for what it's like over the course of our round, but then utilizing that skins piece as well. So great stuff. Look forward to catching up with those guys again soon. All right, before I get to my next guest, Dan Quinn, I want to give a shout out to a couple of our sponsors, starting with our friends over at Finn Cycles.
It's time to rethink golf. The game is at a tipping point. The young people we need in the game don't have 4.5 hours to spend out on the course. Pairing Finn Cycles with a desire to play ready golf can cut playing time in half because all golfers go directly to their own golf ball. Plus, it's tons of fun. Go online to finscooters.com and click on Find a Fin for a course that has them near you. I also want to give another shout out to our friends over at the Macklemore. The Macklemore Mountaintop community rests atop the highlands of Lookout Mountain, Georgia, overlooking historic Macklemore Cove and Pigeon Mountain. Surrounded on all sides by state and national parks, historic land districts, and private land trusts. The resort features an 18-hole Reese Jones and Bill Bergen championship course, a gated residential community, and a planned clubhouse opening in the fall of 2020, plus planned hotel and conference center. The dramatic 18-hole course is made up of a variety of golf experiences, combining canyon holes, highland holes, cliff edge holes that are well suited for the beginning golfer as well as the senior player. Macklemore also offers a wonderful 6-hole short course called the Cairn. Designed by Bill Bergen, the Cairn provides players with a short warm-up or cool-down before or after a round, or a relaxing way to improve one's game with family and friends. Macklemore is located a short driving distance from Atlanta, Nashville, Knoxville, Birmingham, and Huntsville, and just 35 minutes from downtown Chattanooga, voted #1 best town in America 2 years in a row by Outside Magazine. While a private course, Macklemore offers stay and play packages for guests in club-managed properties, as well as a number of membership opportunities, including social memberships, non-resident memberships, and corporate memberships as well. For more information, please visit Macklemore online at themacklemore.com or give them a call at 800-329-8154. All right, now back in making his 7th appearance with me here on Next on the Tee is Dan Quinn. Let me remind you about Dan's background. He's from Ottawa, Ontario, and grew up in Brockville, Ontario. He played hockey in the NHL from 1983 to 1997 with the Flames, Penguins, Canucks, Blues, Flyers, North Stars, Senators, and Kings. He was the co-winner of the Penguins Players Player Award in the 1986-87 season, and that award is voted on by the players and given to the player who exemplifies leadership for the team both on and off the ice and who is dedicated to teamwork. Over the course of Dan's hockey career, he scored 266 goals, had 419 assists, and totaled 685 points in 805 games. In golf, he was one of the top players out on the Celebrity Tour. He competed at the American Century Championship for many years. He won it 5 times and finished in the top 10 18 times. He's caddied out on the PGA Tour for players like John Daly, Ernie Els, and Yas Luton, and I'm very excited to have him back with me again tonight here on Next on the Tee. Hey, Dan, thanks for coming back on the show.
Hey, Chris, how are you? Good to see you. Good to hear from you.
So, Dan, catch us up. What's been going on with you this year? How have you been dealing with all this COVID stuff?
Well, I got I have 3 kids, two are in college, so I'm in Florida, which is, I don't know, I guess a bit of a bullish state, not too. It's a nightmare. It's been a nightmare. But 2 girls in college, that one's graduating. It's not been cool, but I don't get it. It's just been a crazy time. I don't know how you're dealing with it, but it's been crazy.
With you. Hey, Dan, I thought it was kind of funny about a month or so ago, I saw someone was giving you a hard time thinking you were the Falcons' now former head coach. How many times have you had to deal with people banging on you thinking you were the Dan Quinn who was the head coach for the Falcons?
Well, it's been interesting because I used to always say, like, a lot of when Google and all that stuff happened, I was happy to not be the first person when you Google Dan Quinn happened, but because of some past mistakes. But when Dan Quinn took over for the Falcons, he took over the #1 Dan Quinn. But unfortunately, I took it over to social media. All I did Twitter was to follow my kids, and I got all these Dan Quinn tweets from me. He blew the Super Bowl against the Patriots a couple of years ago, so it started that little funny exchange, but it's all good.
Dan, I want to get your thoughts on the Masters, and I know we've talked about this before, but for anyone who wasn't a part of the show on some of your previous visits, I know you're on the bag there for Ernie Els in 2010. Talk about what it's like being a caddy at that event.
The event I did was in April. This was a unique event that just passed, and I'm lucky enough to have got some inside scoops on Wayne Gretzky's. Wayne's a friend of mine. He's been down here. We played golf last week and this week, and he was at Augusta for the Masters with the family. And even though only one person could go on grounds, but it was a unique event. And I think in November versus April, when I caddied in 2010, and Mickelson won, Ernie came 20. I caddied for Ernie Els that year, and he came 18th. But I just thought it was a opportunity for somebody that I think is an unbelievable golfer in Dustin to really separate himself in the next 18 months. He could possibly win three Masters in the next. I would be shocked if he doesn't win one of the next two in 21 and 22. So it's going to be a kind of a coming of age of a guy that just buried everybody 2 weeks ago to the next April of 21 and April of 22.
What was it like for Wayne to be a part of, DJ's win and a historic win? First guy to ever reach 20 under par, and outside of a few moments in the final round that kind of made you scratch your head when the lead got down to 2. But obviously he righted the ship and then went on to a fantastic final round. What was it like for Wayne to be a part of that?
Well, so there's a couple, there's Wayne's perspective and mine, and then the two things I say that obviously Dustin finally admitted he was nervous, and he's never been nervous before. This meant a lot to him, a kid that grew up 70 miles from Augusta, and probably is why after all the wins he's had on the PGA Tour, it took this long, and maybe a November tournament in an ad hoc 2020 COVID year is the reason he won. But I will be shocked if he doesn't win 2 or 3 more. Me as a professional, as a golfer, and that's not from Wayne, but Gretz was there. They were they had a Canadian gentleman set up a house that had a lot of rooms, so they had the chefs, they had the grandkids, Wayne, Janet, Austin, and their trainer Joey D all stayed at the same house, and I think they'll get it again in April. So it was great to hear all the memories, the stories, and so on and so forth. But I think that if you ask, I did an interview for TSN, I'm Canadian, a week ago. The thing that would happen in November was it was softer and wetter, no wind, and it had all the birdie pins were Thursday and Friday, and Dustin took advantage of it. He got way under and then shot a 65 on Saturday, and I think that the Augusta members and whoever sets up the course in April of 21 this will be a very difficult, like 4 or 5 under might win. It won't be 20 under again. And that's, the short daylight this year that they had, I think is the reason they just didn't want to have guys out there all day, and they wanted to get it around 3 o'clock so they could honor the CBS contract with football. It was a very unique year, and I think it bodes well for the future of Dustin Johnson winning golf tournaments in the majors, especially Augusta. I think he might win. I mean, the golf course is built for him. He's won it, and it's going to be interesting. I think he might win 3 or 4 of these in the next, he's 37 by the time he's 45.
And Dan, one of the things that we talk an awful lot on this show about Augusta National is folks that haven't actually been on the ground don't get a good sense for the change in elevation that happens out there on Augusta National. TV just doesn't do it justice. For a guy who had to lug a tour bag up and down those hills, what was that like for you?
I've always said this about any golf course, flat, undulation or not. It's only heavy when they're over par. But if Augusta, I never looked at it once. I mean, it is a very physical walk, but I never looked at it that way. I had so much fun being on the grounds. I walked it before we teed off. I went and saw where the par 3 tees were, and knew exactly so that I could give instant information when I got to the holes on 4, 6, 12, and 16. I knew exactly where everything was, so I walked the course before he even caddied, and then I met my player 90 minutes before he teed off. So it was never an energy problem. But to your point, as a fan, I went there when I first retired from hockey, 6 or 7 years, and I was shocked how undulating the hills on. Nobody even knows when you go down the hill on 8 and then go all the way up. It's like a 400-yard walk. It's a very, very significant 18, going down 10, back up 11. There's a lot of hills there that TV doesn't do it, but TV doesn't do it really justice in the sense that it's the most, it's a spectacular piece of property, and it's one of my favorite things. I said to somebody, I'm a huge sports fan. I'm a huge Steeler fan. I'm a huge football fan. Not so much baseball as much as I used to, but I love sports. But the number one thing I wanted to do when I retired from hockey was go to the Masters. I think it's the greatest event. It transcends sports, and two sports that I love are hockey and golf foremost. But I love going there, and to get to work in 2010 with Ernie was a treat.
I guess the other question I had, Dan, is for a guy that you went there, and as you talked about going out there and especially out to the par threes, but how did you learn how to read those greens? That's got to be a very difficult and time-consuming thing to understand where I need to tell my player that he needs to hit the ball in order to have an opportunity to make birdie.
Well, we did. When you asked me about why I would go, I just wanted to have all the tees. If I could go out and do some work and see some putts and stuff, I thought that it was just an effort that a player would appreciate as they teed off. And you said, I've already seen a guy putt from the back of the second hole, because it would be just lazy not to go out instead of sitting around having a coffee. As far as reading the greens, we had Ernie 2010 when I caddied for him. We had the greens books, and we had an arrow. I put an arrow through every green that sort of was set up by a local caddy that he had met a couple, 3 years before I worked for him, that basically put a line through every green that pointed to Rays Creek. And that's what everything kind of does. It does tug down to the bottom where the bridge is on 11 and 12. If you look at Augusta, everything breaks to that, no matter where you are on the property. So we had a line through there. And then at the end of the day, I'm not trying to be conceited, but I know how to play golf, and I knew there's grain on every green. You could see the grain, you could see where the tugs were, and you could, and I could read green. So we had a good job that week, and the putting wasn't our issue. We made 3 doubles. Otherwise, Ernie might have contended. But it's a unique place, and bent grass, just like Bermuda grass, everything has a tug to it or a pull to it. And Augusta, especially, everything points down to that bridge on 11 and 12.
Dan, I want to switch gears with you. And you mentioned you know how to play golf, and there's no question about that. A guy that won the American Century Classic 5 times, one of the best players ever out on the Celebrity Tour. But the last time you and I talked, it was sort of a head scratcher. You hadn't been invited back to that event in a while. Has that changed?
No, it hasn't. No, so I'm 55 now. So me, Rick Rhoden won it 8 times. I won it 5 times. Billy Joe Tolliver won it 3, and none of us are back. They're it's a business, and they're trying to keep everything current, and I understand that. So they wanted Tony Romo to win it, which he's done. I don't know. Mark Mulder's a big name, but he won it 3 times in a row. But he was more current. So no, so it has not changed. In their dream world, it's a made-for-TV event, except for the fact that some of us didn't treat it that way. But they want Steph Curry or Tony Romo to win it, and then so that's where it's at. But Marty Fish, I had a 23-year run, won it 5 times, like you said. I think 18 times you said top 10, whatever. But I had a great time every year I went out there, and it was a thrill to play it. But at the same time, Gress was talking to me about it today. I mean, I was an active player when I went my first time. I was still playing the NHL. I was current, and so I'll take that. And I shot under par for the very first time. I shot 3 under in 1992 when I was still in the NHL. But that's not tooting my own horn. I'm just saying there's a few guys. There's a lot that can play. It's really it was originally about guys that could play no matter what their celebrity status was, to where it's become much more about celebrity status. And I'm not a celebrity.
Wow. I don't know if I'd go that far.
Well, I had a career,
about...
but I'm not a celebrity. I'm going to sign autographs in a restaurant. 55, bro. It's all good. It's all good.
Dan, talk about your teammate for a while, Mario Lemieux. You guys, I imagine, had some pretty good matches against one another, probably over at Oakmont. Talk about that. Did you guys get over to Oakmont and play against one another on a semi-regular basis?
No, so Mario lived in when we were in Pittsburgh together, he lived in Mount Lebanon. I lived in Upper St. Clair. So if this is a Pittsburgh-based show, but anyways, yeah. So Mario and I remember the first year. I said, "Look, I'm not going to go back to Canada. I want to stay in Pittsburgh. You want to play? But if I stay here, we're going to play golf every day." And we did. We did that for like 5, 6, probably 10 years. And Mario was a great player. Didn't play golf like I did as a junior, as 12, 13, 14. I was a little bit further along, but he had great swing, great hands. We had a lot of fun. A couple times we've been to, played Pine Valley. We played a lot of golf tournaments, a lot of places that were very special memories, even to this day. I texted him today, so I heard he had some health problems. And anyway, we had a great time. Pittsburgh is the greatest. I'm still friends with Bob. Great friends with Bob Ford. Love the place to play golf. The Pennsylvania, I just love it. And it was Mario and I played a lot of golf. Not so much at Oakmont, but much more over at. We started at Rolling Hills. We joined together in 1987. The summer of that was my first summer there, and I think I don't know what it's called now, but we basically most of the golf we played was at a place called Nevillewood in Pittsburgh, and that opened in 92 through 2001. I think Mario plays more over near Sewickley or Allegheny now. Played a lot of golf at a place called Nevillewood in Pittsburgh.
Dan, just a couple more before I let you go. And your son's a pretty good golfer. Talk about his game.
Yeah, so it's been a great try. I have 2 daughters that are in college, and they're actually in Pennsylvania for Thanksgiving with their mother this week. But my son's here, and he goes, "No, I can't leave. I got to stay down here." He's got Bob Ford helped him. He's gonna caddy at Seminole this winter and on holidays. He's a freshman in high school. Anyway, my kid's he's got a shot. I'm not one of those dads, I'm not forcing him, but my kid's way better than I was at 14. So I'll leave it at that. He loves it. He's got the bug, and he's got a great golf swing, and it's been fun. I love sitting here watching the Masters with him and DJ, and it's so hard to be somebody that played a pro sport to teach their kid and know. I get him in the car after he plays a bad round, and I'm like, "Sorry, I'm not that dad. Why did you do this? Why did you do that? I'm not that kid. Oh, good job, Dad. Good job, buddy." I'm like, "Sorry, buddy. That's just not that dad." But I tell you what, I got a kid that I think he's got a shot. He loves it. He's got the intensity for it. He's got way more talent than I did at golf, and I'm looking forward to see where he goes. He just turned 14, and so he's going to caddy. It's a trick box. So I was just with Wayne today. I mean, he's got 5 kids, and his son's a really good player. We play with him. Tristan's his name, and he hits with a mile. He eagled a par 4 from 275 into the wind today. But he goes, "Quinn, I don't know how to tell them what to do. My wife pushes them. It's a real trick box." And I think, I appreciate you asking me the question. I think I have it in. I've pushed my son just enough, but I let him. If he doesn't have the bug, there's no chance he has it. But I think he's got the bug, and he's got a great golf swing. And I'm not one of those dads. Let's leave it at that. I'm not Tiger Woods' dad. I'm just gonna let the kid's got to do it on himself. So it's a really hard thing as a guy that made it in a pro sport to raise a kid. But my kid's got the bug, so I'm looking forward to it. I got a lot of friends, including Bob Ford. They're going to help him, and I think he's got a shot to be a unique kind of cool kid. But it's just a tough thing to say to somebody at 14 years old. I know what I was doing, but nobody told me what I was doing. I knew where I was going in hockey, and it's a really, Chris, it's very hard to be a parent of a kid that you think can do it and not push them too hard. And I'm trying not to push them too hard.
Yeah, I understand. I know what it's like, my friend. Dan, you mentioned you're a big Steelers fan, as am I. So I got to get your thoughts. 10-0. I'm feeling pretty good. I'm a little nervous for some of these close games that they've had. Obviously not this past weekend, but what are your thoughts on the Steelers? Do they got a shot? Do you think they can go all the way?
Have they played their best game yet? I don't think
so. No.
I don't think they have. I mean, I thought the first 4 weeks I was worried about the defense, and now the defense is better than the offense. And I know Ben's playing unreal. Like, he should be an MVP candidate. And you got my boy from Canada. Oh, hold on. My boy from Canada, Claypool. He's fucking on fire. And I think but the defense is the only thing I was worried about. And I don't know. I think Kansas City's they're in their side of Kansas City. Tampa Bay's in a bad spot now. But I wish there was a way that everybody had to go through Pittsburgh at 10-0. I wish Kansas City had to go through Pittsburgh with all the fans, but there's no fans. There's really no home field advantage. But I think they're for real. You tell me. I think they're for real, and then I think the defense is what shocked me the last 6 weeks. I thought the first 4 weeks I was worried about them, but big game Thursday night. But they're going to blame it on COVID if Baltimore guys can't play. But no, I think Pittsburgh's. I think the Steelers are for real. I really do. I think they're a legitimate contender. You tell me.
Yeah, no, I think so too. But I'm with you. The defense makes me a little nervous. I'm not sure that going up against Kansas City and trying to cover the pass. Those guys worry me in the defensive backfield. And then what we saw from some of the guys, particularly in the last Baltimore game, where they had 3 guys run for over 50 yards in the first half. I was concerned. So I'm a little concerned about that. I think the offense is going to figure it out. To your point, I think Ben is an MVP candidate this year, and the wide receivers are tough to deal with. I wish we had a little bit more in the running game to balance it out. But I'm a little bit worried about the defense. We'll see how it goes. But I think they're for real.
Defense,
I think
the first couple of weeks I was worried, but they're actually the better side of the ball, right? I mean, unless I'm missing something, but I don't know. You can't tell when they play Cincinnati or they play. They play down. They always play. Since I've known the Steelers, since I played there, they always play down to their competition. I think they played the Jacksonville game. They played down. They coached, let's just win 27-3. Let's not, they're not going to score on us. Speaks volume to how good they think their defense is. Whereas when they're going to play Kansas City, you're going to have to score in the high 30s. You're going to have to score more than 30 points to beat them, and you're going to have to make some turnovers. I just think they're a legitimate contender, and I only look at who they're going to have to play to get past Kansas City. Is going to be very tough out, and they're on the same side of the football field, or same side of the conference. But anyway, it's going to be interesting. I mean, I just watched Tampa Bay last night. I'm a huge sports fan, so I love Tom Brady, even though I'm a Steeler fan. Dude, he's going to be. He's got to play Kansas City this week. He's going to be 7-5. They might miss the playoffs. I mean, it's just going to be a very interesting. It's going to be interesting what happens. But I think the Steelers, if they can beat Baltimore and get them, they're not even a part of the equation. That's a big. They win tomorrow night, Thursday night. Pittsburgh clinches, and Baltimore has no chance of seeing them again. That's big. So anyway, I don't.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
I'm just saying. I think the Steelers are for real. I mean, I don't know enough. I can't really tell with no home field advantage, and how I know if everybody had to go through Pittsburgh to get to the Super Bowl, then I would say Steelers are going to the Super Bowl. But because there's no fans, that's the only thing I say. Because I know what it's like to be a fan and be in Pittsburgh. It's a tough place to play. If Kansas City had to come through Pittsburgh with 56,000 people or whatever there is in Heinz Field, but when there's only 500, it's going to be a different animal. But that's the only thing I say. And same thing, if Pittsburgh had to go to Kansas City and go through Arrowhead, when you have to go through there, but there's no fans, so I don't even know what home field means. So, but I think Pittsburgh going 10-0, I mean, unbelievable. So I'm looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to see what NHL does. I can't wait to watch hockey again. I thought the fall program they did was unbelievable, but I've never heard anybody tell me nobody knows what's going to happen, and I'm worried for live sports for hockey. I really don't know. They need fans in the buildings, and if they can't start in January, I don't know what's going to happen. So hopefully this whole world gets on par. I don't know. It's a crazy time. To answer your question that you first asked me about COVID.
Dan, before I let you go, let our listeners know, how can they stay up to date with all the great things that you're doing and follow you, whether it's online or it's on social media?
It's all good. I'm on Twitter. I don't do so much social media, but it's all good. Always good talking to you, Chris. Thanks for shout-outs every Sunday morning, and then it's always great to talk to a Pittsburgh fan.
I appreciate you, Dan. Take care. Stay safe out there. Happy holidays to you and your family. Look forward to catching up with you again soon.
Anytime. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan. That's the great Dan Quinn. And, folks, he's very humble, but tremendous athlete, tremendous celebrity, and a tremendous golfer. Again, you go back and you look at what he did on the Celebrity Tour. Again, won the American Century Classic 5 times. And I guess to his point, they want to stay current. But you want to talk about guys that dominated that event. He and Rick Rhoden, to Danny's point, Rhoden won it 8 times. Dan won it 5 times. So those two guys, and Rhoden, by the way, spent some time in Pittsburgh pitching for the Pirates. But those two guys were as dominant on the Celebrity Tour as anybody. And our good friend over on Thursday Night Tailgate, from an NFL perspective, Steve Markowski also has some game, by the way, was out there playing in those events as well. So I just thought it was a head scratcher when you've got those guys that were so dominant that the invitations stopped coming. And they wanted other guys out there, like you said. I guess they want Tony Romo to win. They want Steph Curry to win. So let's get some of these guys that are winning this event, and we won't invite them back to give these other guys an opportunity to be the champion. But Dan, tremendous hockey player, tremendous golfer, and a tremendous individual. So look forward to catching up with Dan again next season. And speaking of which, folks, it is time for me to put a bow on this episode of Next on the Tee, sending out my sincere thanks to Tom Patri, Nick O'Hearn, Tom Naramore, and Dan Quinn for joining me tonight. And my thanks to all of you for being a part of the show again this season. Like I mentioned at the top, we're going to be on hiatus for a couple of months. But if you love football, I hope you'll join me and my co-host Bob Lazzari over on our show, Thursday Night Tailgate. That's going to be on the same Blog Talk Radio and the same podcasting site. We're live Thursday nights starting at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, but you'll be able to find us on all of the great sites like you can find this show. Again, if you love podcasting, you're on podcasting sites. You're going to find this show and that one on podcast.co, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audioboom, Player.fm, and Radio.com as well. Please stay up to date with our website, nextonthetee.net. We'll have some, I'm sure some special events, a couple of interviews here and there over the winter, plus things that our friends and our sponsors are doing. So we hope you'll stay in touch with the show by going on there, and keep your eyes out, because we'll start posting what our next season will look like and who will be joining us over there on that website. Folks, I can't thank you enough for continuing to tune in and making us a part of your golfing content. Until next season, hit 'em straight, my friends.